JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. May 20th, 2024. Quick pre-market rant. Going to talk about the market, some of the names I'm looking at, some of the names I'm in, and go from there. Take a look at the SPY. Some consolidation the last week for the last three sessions, around 531.50 all the way down to 528.50. So maybe some more chop there. Wednesday, we get the PMI data, excuse me, the Fed minutes and NVDA earnings. That's pretty much as far as it goes in regards to market catalysts. So probably pending any, and I put it on the watch list, which will be out shortly, any crazy geopolitical situations. And we had the president of Iran got lost in a helicopter crash over the weekend. You started looking at that. So, did anybody else have any part of that? That's probably the speculation will come out. But outside of any geopolitical concerns, I think the market will probably chop around here. And then new highs beget new highs. We get a little blue sky breakout move, 540, 545 on the SPY, and then revisit there. But I would think some chop here today and tomorrow into Wednesday's only catalyst really of the week. There are still earnings this week, and Wix.com, one of my old favorites back in the day, I don't know if it was 60, 70 bucks. They reported a great quarter, strong beat and raise. The stock's up here at 147 in the pre-market. Might be a name I look for some spec calls. I think it trades up near 155, 160. I can go on a rant for a while about Wix.com. It's one of the platforms that has a tremendous amount of free users, and then their execution on converting the free users into paying users and premium users is how they grow their business. They have a huge cohort of free folks, and their platform. So if you're a business that wants to have an online presence, their platform doesn't really, once you have that online presence, it doesn't really allow you to go to a different platform, right? So that's kind of their motor on their business. I've done these rants for a while on Wix.com, but there some situations in regards to COVID, because when you have small businesses that rely on uh, restaurants, shopping, things like that, and those kind of went on holds during COVID. It hurt Wix, and now you see it's back kind of. I don't know if it's in recovery mode, but I think it's trending in the right direction. I think 145 was the highs back in March. I think it heads higher, so I'll probably look to get some speculative calls on that at the open. Not going to add too much here on CGC. I think the chart's still trending up nice, down 1.4% or so here on Friday. Not much really to add in regards to commentary in the cannabis space, but I think 1718 is coming on CGC. ACB I still hold some June strikes. At some point, I look to add some more strikes on that one. And then of course IIPR. And Friday I was looking to get some July strikes, lock some of my June calls in. At some point I'll look to lock the June strikes in. They were almost 100%. Considering, I'm surprised considering where the stock has moved. It's up 5 sessions in a row. I thought the June strikes would be up over 100%. Again, some of that's the ex-divvy. So looking to lock some of those calls in, add some July strikes. I'll continue to do that. Dell's Technology Week starts. I think what casino? They're at one of the, not area. They're at I forget where they are in Vegas. I think their stream starts at 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock Pacific time, so 12 Eastern. 4 days. NVIDIA's already posted on their website in regards to this event. You have to think there's going to be some announcements. Then you have earnings next week for Dell. I think it trades 165 plus. NVIDIA had 3 or 4 analyst upgrades this morning, and I think that's pushing some of these names up in sympathy. Adobe, Dell. So I really like that one for upside. Speaking of Adobe, gapping up. Well, I was gapping up over near 490 earlier. Now it's about 45, 46. At some point, I think that's going to go on a run and start to close the gap around 540. Still have my strikes that expire on Friday. May look for some other calls once it breaks 500, but I think it's a bounce play into its earnings. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to trade that one. iRobot traded down over 3% on Friday, despite the fact that the CEO added shares. Typically, you see an insider buy, especially when it's the CEO, the leader of the company, buys shares. You would think the stock would rally. I think most of it, or majority of the selling, had to do with folks taking profits as the meme craze kind of faded. So I think it trades higher on its own merits. I think, call me crazy, I think it trades up near 20 plus in the coming weeks. Not going to add anything just yet. well, anything more than what I have, but I'll continue to look for opportunities to trade that one. Fiverr, not much to add here on Fiverr. Still, holding its ground here. I think it trades over $30. I'm trying to think of some of these other names that I'm looking. Oh, Turn Pharmaceuticals. Well, Turns, excuse me. Uh, I keep talking about VKTX. At some point, I'll add more VKTX calls. The Roche data from the Camelot company they acquired for, I don't know, it was $2.7 billion. To me, I have to look more at the data, but the cohort and the dosing and all that stuff, it just doesn't jive compared to VKTX. VKTX still is best in class in regards to oral, injectable, and then they have MASH data coming out before the end of June. So, it's sitting here. It was 60, is it 67? I didn't even put it up on my chart here. Excuse me. But still have the June freebies. And at some point I look for, 6701. At some point I look for more strikes. You saw the analysts out on Friday just reiterating their buy ratings, some upgrade the stock, because it's almost mind-boggling how VKTX's data is superior, yet it sells off when you have these mega cap companies release GLP-1 data. So it's kind of conflicting, but I just, at some point, either there's going to be some M&A, what have you. I think it trades over $100. Last but not least, and I'm not going to talk too much about ENVX. I've already talked about a little bit about some of the catalysts, not the catalysts, the red flags. And it took me a while to put a lot of my pieces together, and at least my red flag rant, I guess you would call it. So I'll probably wait till tomorrow or the next day to put the video out. And I'm getting such a lot of heat from these the bulls on ENVX on FinTwit, direct messages, emails. So I just, like I said last week, I'm just gonna get it all on the table and then stop posting on FinTwit about it. But there's just so much stuff I was doing. I spent a couple hours this weekend just looking, and they removed the 3D architecture wording from all their filings, but that was part of their getting acquired via SPAC. And I can go on rants, and I feel bad, not feel bad, but people are saying I'm calling it a fraud, but it's not. I'm not calling it a fraud. There's just a lot of similarities between how ENVX became public via SPAC and how Nikla became public via SPAC. Trevor Milton went and did roadshows and lied to people to get folks to invest in his company. Right? He said they had a hydrogen facility at their home office. He said a lot of things that turned out not to be true, whether he embellished or exaggerated. Same with the NVX. So you have the TJ Rogers, who founded Cypress. I think he founded Cypress. He took a stake in ENVX back in 2007. So he has a stake. Then in 2012, he's director. And then Cypress Semiconductor, he founded, starts putting money into ENVX. Well, before ENVX, NVX, right? And then in 2020, he creates a SPAC, December 2020, called Rogers SPAC, whatever it's called. And then he uses that as a vehicle to acquire ENVX. And in the IPO, or the S1 filing or whatever of his SPAC, or his blank check company, it says he's going to look at technology companies and things like that. But then it's like your only company you're invested in is the one that you're going to take your blank check company and acquire. It's it's crazy stuff. And the funny thing is, Cypress at one point, I think 2017, they owned 41% of the privately held NVX, right? So at the end of at the end of 2017, and then if you go to their filings, it says they carried it as a zero on their books, meaning they just wrote it off as an investment, saying, "Oh, this is not going to come to fruition." And then you look, their stake went from 41% down to 24%, but it was dilution. And then one of the other directors on Enovix, all of a sudden he has shares. Who knows what he bought them at discount. But then, just moral of the story is, then TJ Rogers acquires Enovix, which he has a huge stakes, and his $15 million stake is $150 million overnight. So obviously his interests are not aligned with shareholders, right? He's already up 10 bags, so his job is just to keep the stock to over $10, which is where it. So rants for other days. Just there's so many other things. It's sitting here at 10:08 or so. I look back in 20. I think this was 2020, and they said that he sent out production cells to 200 and something companies, and then they said they sent them out to five of the top OEMs with over $200 billion in market valuation or market capitalization. But I'm like, isn't that what they just did in May, right? So it's like they just keep issuing generic press releases to keep the stock afloat, and maybe I'm wrong. So I added some more puts right at the end of the day on Friday. Probably gonna be cheaper at the open. Um, I'm not sure. I don't have a large position, so it's not like I'm, some of these other people who short names and what have you. They're leveraged. They keep shorting. I just have speculative puts, similar to how I trade some of the stocks to the upside. I just have speculative calls, and I'll probably just hold what I have for now until, whether it's more catalyst or what have you. But that's my rant. 8:52 here on this fine Monday. Hopefully we have a great week. Of course, Wix is is moving higher here in the pre-market. I was hoping it would just hold around 145, so maybe I'll pass on entering those. I forget if I probably didn't mention Baidu back under 110 here in the pre-market, despite China markets in the green overnight. Just frustrating name to try and trade. Still have Roku strikes. I still think that trades over $70. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.